Have you ever felt that sting when someone you cared about suddenly starts ignoring you, like you never mattered at all? No explanation, no goodbye, just silence. And there you are, staring at your phone, wondering what you did wrong, replaying every word, every moment, every little detail. It's painful. It's confusing. And worst of all, it makes you question your worth. But let me tell you something real. The way someone chooses to treat you in silence reveals everything you need to know. It's not about what you lost. It's about what you're about to find. You. This speech isn't about him. It's about you taking your power back. Because when someone pulls away, you don't fall apart. You rise. Asterisk when someone you care about begins to ignore you, it's natural to feel a wave of confusion, sadness, and even desperation. You start questioning yourself. Did I say something wrong? Did I do too much? Or maybe not enough? And that's when the urge kicks in. To text, to call, to ask what's wrong, to beg for a response. But this is the exact moment where your strength is tested. This is where many women react with drama out of hurt. They over-explain, over-text, or lash out. But the truth is, when someone starts pulling away, the most powerful thing you can do is pull back with dignity. You don't need to argue, cry, or prove your worth. You simply step away, calmly, silently, and with your head held high. Dignity means you're not engaging in a tug-of-war for attention. You are not putting yourself in a position where you have to beg someone to value you. When you react with drama, it makes the other person feel in control. But when you respond with composure, it puts the spotlight back on them. It says, without words, I noticed your change, and I'm not chasing it. That kind of maturity is rare and unforgettable. It shows emotional intelligence, confidence, and pulling back isn't about manipulation or revenge. It's about self-preservation. It's about choosing peace over confusion. When you walk away without causing a scene, it protects your dignity and gives you space to see things clearly. And most of all, it leaves the other person wondering why you didn't beg, why you didn't react, why you're so calm. And in that silence, they often realize what they lost. So if he's ignoring you, don't lower yourself. Don't fight for a space in someone's life who doesn't want to make room for you. Instead, shift your focus inward. Step back with quiet strength, and let your absence do the talking. Because a woman who knows her worth never needs to scream it out loud. She just walks away, and that's when her silence becomes the loudest sound in the room. Asterisk. When someone you care about starts ignoring you, your mind often races to fill the silence. You begin to overthink, analyze every conversation, and wonder if you made a mistake. You might even start justifying his behavior. Maybe he's busy. Maybe he needs space. Maybe he's confused. But instead of drowning in the noise of your thoughts, you need to learn to sit with the silence. Because sometimes, a person's absence tells you more than their words ever could. The way someone pulls away can reveal the truth you've been avoiding. Silence isn't always a mystery. Often, it's an answer. When he disappears without explanation, when he stops putting in effort, when he chooses not to communicate, let that behavior speak for itself. Don't try to decode mixed signals when the truth is already loud and clear in his actions. Let his absence create your clarity. Let it show you where you stand. Let it open your eyes to the reality of his interest, his respect, and his emotional maturity. This is not about punishing yourself with overthinking. It's about freeing yourself from false hope. His silence can be your awakening. It's the space where you finally realize that love should never feel like confusion, and effort should never feel optional. A man who values you won't leave you wondering. And if he does, that's your clarity. That's your answer. Use his absence as a mirror to reflect back what you truly deserve. You don't need someone who makes you guess your place in their life. You need someone who is sure about you, someone who shows up, not disappears. So instead of chasing explanations, sit still, breathe. Watch how silence reveals what you were too busy loving to see. The longer you allow someone to treat you like an option, the more you'll forget you're a priority. Don't fear his absence. Embrace it. It's not rejection, it's redirection. It's not the end of your worth, it's the beginning of your clarity. And once you find clarity, you find freedom. And once you're free, you'll never beg for confusion again. You'll walk with peace. Because you finally saw the truth, and that truth will set your heart free. Asterisk when someone you cared about, it starts ignoring you. It's easy to internalize their silence as a reflection of your worth. You start thinking, maybe I wasn't enough, or maybe I should have been different. But that mindset is the first thing you need to let go of. Because his failure to recognize your value doesn't mean it wasn't there. It only means he wasn't capable of seeing it. And now, instead of trying to remind him of who you are, it's time to remind yourself. Reconnect with the version of you that existed before his attention mattered. Reconnect with the girl who smiled without checking her phone, the one who laughed loudly, chased her goals, and glowed with confidence, the one who didn't shrink herself for love. That version of you still exists. She's just been buried under the weight of overthinking and self-doubt. Now is the time to bring her back. Go out with your friends. Wear that outfit that makes you feel powerful. Dive into your passions, your goals, your healing. Focus on your mental, emotional, and even physical glow. Not to make him regret, not to post for validation, but because you deserve to see yourself thriving again. Because nothing is more magnetic than a woman who's in love with her own life. When you stop trying to win him back and start falling back in love with yourself, you shift the entire energy. You go from wondering why he pulled away to realizing that maybe he just wasn't ready for someone like you. Maybe his silence had nothing to do with your worth and everything to do with his limitations. The more you reconnect with the real you, the less space you'll have for someone who couldn't appreciate her. Self-love isn't a rebound, it's a return. A return to the version of you who doesn't beg, doesn't chase, and doesn't question her beauty just because someone else did. You don't need to be seen by someone to be valuable. You were already valuable, he just missed it. But now you won't. Now you remember. And that memory of your true self, that's where your power begins again. Asterisk. When someone starts ignoring you, it's tempting to lower your standards just to keep them around. You start accepting delayed replies, mixed signals, and half-hearted effort telling yourself, maybe this is normal, or maybe I'm expecting too much. But deep down, you know it isn't right. You know what respect feels like, and this isn't it. The danger in being ignored is that it can quietly convince you to settle. You begin offering discounts on your standards just to feel seen, heard, or loved. But love that requires you to shrink yourself is not love, it's survival. And you weren't born to survive in a relationship, you were born to thrive. Your standards are not too high. They are a reflection of what you know you deserve. They exist to protect your peace, your heart, and your future. When you start accepting less than those standards, you start teaching people that they can give you less and still keep you. That's how patterns of emotional neglect begin. That's how powerful, beautiful women forget their worth. 1 ignored message. 1 broken promise. 1 lowered expectation at a time. But you must remember, the right person will meet your standards not because they have to, but because they want to, because they see your value and choose to rise up to meet it. So don't water yourself down to be easier to swallow. Don't compromise on the basics, like respect, effort, and emotional presence just to feel temporarily wanted. Any connection that requires you to betray yourself isn't a connection. It's a trap, and you are not here to beg for breadcrumbs. You are here to receive a full meal. Love, loyalty, communication, commitment, all of it. Stop offering discounts to people who can't afford the full price of your heart. Let them walk. Let them go. The ones who disappear when your standards stay high are the ones who are never capable of loving you the way you need. And that's not your loss. That's your protection. You don't attract what you want by lowering your bar. You attract it by holding it firmly in place and letting anyone who can't meet it move out of your way. When a guy who once ignored you suddenly returns, it can stir a whirlwind of emotions. You might feel relief, hope, or even validation. A part of you wants to believe he missed you, realized your worth, and finally came back for the right reasons. But this is the moment you must pause, not to shut the door completely, but to stand still and think clearly. His return doesn't automatically mean he's changed. People often come back, not because they truly value you, but because they realize they lost the comfort of your presence. Loneliness, boredom, or ego can drive someone back just as easily as love can. That's why it's dangerous to welcome someone with open arms. The moment they knock, especially someone who once chose silence over effort, you have to ask yourself the tough questions. Why is he back now? What's different? Has he taken accountability? Or is he just picking up where he left off? Because if you let him return without explanation, without boundaries, without growth, you're sending a message that disappearing is acceptable. And once you allow that pattern, it repeats. So, don't be so quick to open the door. Take your time. Observe more than you listen. Let his actions speak louder than his words. A man who truly values you won't just come back, he'll show up with consistent effort, clear intentions, and a willingness to rebuild trust. He won't just say, I miss you. He'll say, I'm ready to do better, and here's how. You owe it to yourself to protect the healing you've done in his absence. Reopening your heart should be a reward for growth, not a reaction to temporary guilt or attention. You are not a backup plan, a safety net, or someone to return to when life gets boring. You are the prize. So if he comes back, make sure he understands that this time, access to you requires more than charm, it requires change. Let him earn his way back into your life, if at all. Because love without growth is just a repeated lesson, and you've already learned it once. Asterisk, when someone walks out of your life without a word, without explanation, or without the decency to give you closure, it leaves a void that aches in places words can't touch. You replay memories, try to decode their silence, and beg the universe for one final conversation. Anything to make sense of the ending. But here's a truth that hurts and heals at the same time. Not everyone will give you closure, and not everyone is supposed to. Sometimes, the silence is the closure. And your healing doesn't have to wait for someone else's apology. That's where your strength comes in. When you choose to become the closure you never received. When you stop chasing answers from someone who didn't care enough to give them, and start giving peace to your own soul. You do that by making a decision to accept what happened, to learn from it, and to move forward. Not because you're okay with how they treated you, but because you refuse to carry their emotional mess any longer. Closure is not a conversation, it's a decision. It's saying, I loved, I lost, but I choose to heal without you. And that kind of quiet, inner power, that's unforgettable. It leaves a mark not just on you, but on them too. Because while they may have thought they could exit your life without consequence, what they never expected was that you'd rise. That you wouldn't wait, beg, or break, but instead, you'd evolve. When you stop reaching out, when you stop trying to fix what someone else broke, and when you choose yourself fully, that's when you become the kind of woman who haunts them, not out of revenge, but because your peace is louder than their apology ever could be. You walk away not with hate, but with wisdom, not with bitterness, but with boundaries. And in doing so, you become the closure they didn't give, and the standard they'll never meet again. So let go of the ending you didn't get, create your own, heal in silence, rise in grace. And remember, your greatest revenge is not anger, it's freedom.